All right, we're live, guys. Everyone that is in the Facebook group right here. Maybe you guys do not recognize this from my studio because I'm right now in the Real Estate Entrepreneurs studio. This is the headquarters of Real Estate Entrepreneurs, which is Ricardo Rosales' place. This is where he creates his snippets, clips, and a lot of commercials. So we're going to talk today with someone that is special for everyone to listen to and everyone to learn from. A lot of times people feel this way, feel burned, and they cannot excel or they just can't keep going. Like there's a lot of struggle. And we're going to go live in the podcast. I hope that you guys listen to me. If you guys listen to me good, hit on the comments, just number one, if it is a good audio and everything, because we're going to be doing the podcast. Audio is in check. Everything is check. And yeah, everything's good. Let's get ready. Let's freaking get ready. And all right. Let's go.
Mic check. I'm good.
Mic check, mic check.
You can read about success all day long, but if you don't put in the work, the mindset, execution, and the hustle behind your vision, it just remains a dream.
When everything goes wrong, you have to take all the responsibility.
We uncover what high-level entrepreneurs, business owners do to rise up from hustling daily.
So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances.
The world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
Join me as I share with you actionable tips to help you grow your business, learn skills, and help you level up in your self-development journey.
Your number one spot for business and personal growth is the Online Hustlers Podcast with your host, Esteban Andrade.
What is going on, everyone? In this new episode of the Online Hustlers Podcast, we have a new studio just for this weekend. So if you're live, you're seeing it in YouTube, then you guys see exactly what is going on in the background, some fancy art. Today in this episode where we do REI marketing conversion, we're going to cover something that a lot of you guys actually go through, feeling burned and going through a lot of hoops in life, a lot of downs, not really being able to figure it out, but also excelling and utilizing these techniques, tactics, strategies, hacks, tips in order to make it happen. And I have today my episode guest is going to be especially giving you guys value. He has about 200K plus in followers in Instagram, and everything is for a reason. It's not that this guy became an influencer in quotation mark just to become an influencer type of person in social media. He actually is achieving great things. He runs a business in real estate wholesaling, real estate investing. He was also been in some of our workshops that we've done with Tiffany High, which we'll also have in these episodes. And before we start, please share this away with everyone. So share this on Spotify, subscribe, make sure that you guys review this, share this with your circle, and make sure that everyone that needs to get this value, these nuggets, get it. Do not be selfish. Just make sure that every single person that needs to get this can listen to it. So I'm gonna get this person in, and we got Shamu Goss. That's how he appears on Instagram to come in here. How are you, my man? How's everything?
I'm good, brother. I'm good, brother. It's Seamus Goss. It's Seamus Goss. I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. We met at Tiffany's event, and it was funny because I was like, I see your ads all on Facebook that I'm like, I finally put a face to it, but man, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Oh, man. Thank you for coming, man. It's honestly an honor that people are able to come, share their nuggets, share the things that they went through and what they're doing right now that work. And today we're going to do just that. I see you having a great engagement and great following in social media. You utilize social media to your best. You also have a great podcast. What's the name of your podcast again?
It's Educate to Elevate.
Educate to Elevate. I absolutely love that title. And you coming from where? Are you in the New York area?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, but I'm originally from New York. Yeah, the Bronx.
There you go.
Yankees.
All right, so you're from New York. I have a lot of clients that are from New York. They're the toughest
Oh, we
The
are. We
toughest
are.
to deal with.
We definitely are.
Atlanta, Georgia. Is that where you do real estate?
Yeah, yeah, we're in Atlanta, Georgia right now. That's the only market we're in right now.
Awesome, man. So I've learned a lot of things from you just by asking some questions to you, but I also want to learn way more today. And for everyone to get this, to get you where you guys are doing consistent deals per month, I believe that you're in the 50 to 100K mark per month in revenue, at least in the flips business.
Mhm.
And you also have this brand that you're growing that is also giving you income, and you also have this new assets that being able to give you the relationships that you have. I've seen you being with different like big people out there
Mhm.
in social media. I've seen your pictures with Grant Cardone, Carlos Reyes. I've seen pictures, and you share this. But I really would love to understand where you're coming from, man. Like, what is it that got you right here? Because not everything was a butterfly and rainbows. High amount of followers, good Spotify, good podcast, good amount of revenue coming in, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot more to go. But where were you like some time ago? Like, where are you coming from, man?
So I started my journey on social media probably in 2018. That's when I kind of started taking Facebook and Instagram serious. I was like, okay, let me start to build a brand. So it's been about 4 years has I have been able to grow my following and like you said to build that brand. But I definitely had to invest a lot into get into certain rooms to be around certain people, right? And I think that that's probably one of the best investments that I made was into my own brand.
Why do you think that for you it was important to get access or be surrounded by great people?
Well, one, when you're in masterminds or you're in mentorships or groups like that, you have access to people that are in a position that you want to be in. And in most cases, they can cut the learning curve for you. And that's what I was looking for, was to get right to people that's doing quarter million, half a million, $1 million months and just, pay them whatever it is I need to pay them to pick their brain so that I could speed up the process. My last business, I didn't have no mentors or nothing. I, ran a business for 16 years. It was just I knew I had to buy low and sell high, right? It wasn't about mentors and everything. So I think it's extremely important to be around people that
Which
can cut
business
the
did you
learning
come
curve.
from? Like,
I,
what was the business?
it was athletic apparel. So we did like basketball uniforms, football, baseball. We owned a factory in the Philippines. We used to import from China and stuff like that. But we ran that company. It was a 7-figure company. We ran that for about 16 years.
Wow, you were able to do that. There's a lot of operations on doing that, man.
A lot,
A
a
lot of
lot.
moving parts in doing that type of business. I also tried private label with Amazon FBA. Is that kind of like private label where you create your brand and things like that?
No, so actually, I actually manage Amazon stores as well because I've been selling on Amazon since 2013. The athletic apparel, we did have our own brand, and we used to produce basketball uniforms, football uniforms, baseball uniforms. Those were our main sources, our main products that we sold to schools, colleges, professional teams, and everything. But in that business, I was wearing the hats of 15 different people. We had 300 accounts. I handled all 300 of the accounts. I was in charge of the marketing, printing, taking the trips overseas, making sure the factory was on time. If I did that for another company, I would have been getting 15 paychecks a month because I was literally doing everything.
Yeah, so you were basically self-employed.
Yeah, self-employed. I was self-employed, but to me, it was just that I tell people sometimes you could just have an expensive job.
It was
That's
an
what you can
expensive
have.
job,
It was
and a
an
lot of
expensive job.
people, I feel like a lot of people like get in business. They try to
Mhm.
get in business, but they do not understand that it's not a business until you have a team and until
Exactly.
you have systems.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure that you kind of had some help here and there, but uh, when you tell me that a lot of different hats were being worn, that's your high paying and expensive job. A lot of
Yes.
hours.
Yes. And
what were
and
what
during
were
that
the
time,
mhm,
go ahead.
including the time what?
during that time, those 16 years, I didn't know what a KPI was. I didn't know what a SOP was. We didn't use a CRM. Like it
See,
was all right
16
here.
years.
16 years, it was all right here. I used to come in and tell my wife, "Hey, we got to collect 200,000 this week." She said, "How do you know?" I'm like, "I just know what we got to collect this month." She was like, "Yeah, but I don't know that. It's not documented. It's not in the CRM." I remember when I first found QuickBooks, I thought it was heaven. I was like, "Oh, the holy grail to business." I didn't have to use an Excel sheet and renumber everything. So yeah, it was a crazy learning curve.
Oh man, why do you think it took you so long to start delegating?
To be honest, we closed that company down in 2016 because I couldn't delegate certain positions. It was just a high turnover rate. I would put people in a position, and next thing you know, 6 weeks later, 8 weeks later, I got to rehire them because a lot of the work was tedious. When it came to screen printing and stuff like that, it was tedious.
Yeah,
So, you couldn't keep somebody there that wanted to screen print for a decade. It was like 3 months, 6 months, I need to find a different job. So I didn't really understand a lot about delegating because one, I was a micromanager. And the only reason why I was a micromanager is because when I come in and I give you your job description, I'm going to give you time to learn it. But if we're 3 months in and you're still making the same mistakes, then I'm going to watch every single move that you do. And my tolerance level back then was zero. I remember coming back from China in 2016 and I fired the entire company. I was so frustrated. I said, everybody, I called them in a room and I'm like, "You're fired, you're fired, you're fired." I fired everybody.
so firing your entire team, what do you think that you learned from there? Do you think you did good?
Well, I knew that the people that I had in those positions was the wrong people for those seats.
Yeah,
They didn't want to see the company grow. If I wasn't there, they didn't care about the work that was getting done. So I think I did a good job at firing them because I knew I had the wrong people in the seats. But then also too, it pushed me to the end of my ropes, and I was like, "That's it. We're gonna close down, and I'm gonna go in a different direction." And a lot of my friends was like, "Man, you're crazy. It's a 7-figure company. You're at a 50-60% profit margin." I was like, "Yeah, but I'm working 100-hour weeks and I haven't taken a vacation in 7 years." I'm like, "I don't
yeah,
care how much money I'm making." And I just came in one day and I told my wife, I'm like, "Yeah, we're closing down." She was like, "What?" I was like, "We're closing down." So
yeah. What made you go into wholesaling now? Like after that business, 16 years, man. It's crazy
it's
amount of
so
time.
yeah, it is. It is. But the funniest thing, when I first moved from New York, when I first moved from the Bronx to Atlanta, I went to school for construction management, right? I did 6 months and then I realized I'm like, man, I don't want to swing no damn hammer. I could just pay people to do that. But I should have stayed in school to understand the process of how to build a home, right?
Yeah,
So that was my first shot at real estate 20 years ago, right? Then I got distracted with doing the uniforms. But during that process, I went to go try to take my real estate license, realized 4 days in, I'm like, man, this is like going back to college. This is more law than anything. One of my good friends is a realtor. I'll just let her do it. And I stopped. I was like, man, this ain't for me. Then when we closed the company down, I had some cash. We bought 5 acres. Me and my wife, we bought 5 acres. We said, listen, we're going to remodel this house. We're going to subdivide the lots up and build 5 other homes. And, we got quotes from contractors. We got, a $15,000 quote. That 15,000 wind up being like 60, 70,000, and they wasn't doing the work. And I said, if this is what I have to deal with real estate, I'm not doing it. So that was my third shot at real estate, right?
yeah,
And then my fourth time when I came back, I got under some mentors, and let's just say that they didn't have my best interests at heart, and I got discouraged. It wasn't until my fifth time, 20 years later from the start date, that I was able to come back and be successful in real estate. Right. So
wow, man.
it took me time. Like most people would have never took 20 years. If I would have stayed focused on it, if I would have finished school or understood that process, I probably wouldn't have started the other company. But the other company gave me revenue fast. Like
Yeah.
daily we was getting payouts. And that's what we needed at that time. I was young.
Okay. Now moving into real estate, you you clearly saw the opportunity into having access and connecting with big people. And I believe a lot of people need to do this much better. At the same time, there's a lot more opportunities that happen when you connect with seven-figure earners, eight-figure earners, people that are already way up there. And like I said, I've seen you with Grant Cardone. I've seen you with Carlos Reyes. I've seen you with like interviewing great people in the game. How do you start doing that, man?
So it's funny. I started building those relationships back in 2019. After I got past the mentorship with the group of people I was under, I had went to the All In Freedom event. That was the first event that I met Carlos and Sal and Alex. But I already was watching Real Estate Disruptors, Steve Trang. And that's the first place I seen Carlos and Sal and Alex. And then I pretty much watch every episode from the podcast. So I knew who the major players was in the game. So like I would just go to trips in Arizona. I became friends with Max, became friends with Steve and Pace and Jamil. So it was just over that time going to events. And when I went to an event, I would always sit up front. So you seen my face, you knew who I was. And that's how I kind of built the relationship over time. And then a lot of the big players in the game seen me on social media consistently posting rehabs or whatever it was. And, we started conversations. And it's funny because I look back now and I go back to 2019, and a lot of the people that I seen on shows, and I was like, man, if I could just become friends with them, now I'm doing deals with a lot of these guys. And so it was just building a relationship.
You applied the pay to play technique, but you did it right in the sense that not only you sat in the front, but you made sure that a relationship was nurtured and cultivated.
Yes.
What was your approach with these people? I know that sometimes people really don't know how to build a relationship with higher level players. But what do you think was your edge, your slight edge to make it happen? Now, first, you did VIP tickets, like sitting in the front. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, when I went to Freedom, I didn't do VIP.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I didn't do VIP. It's crazy because when I went to Freedom, we was just coming out of a bankruptcy, and I used my rent money to get to Freedom. Because I remember trying to negotiate with the lady at the counter. I'm like, hey, you don't got any AAA discounts to give me the room a little bit cheaper? And I was actually behind VIP, the first seat available behind VIP. I was the first one there. I remember getting down in the lobby at an event that starts at 8. I was in the lobby at 5:45. And it was only one other person that would beat me down there every day. And it was another guy from Atlanta, and we became friends. So we was the first ones there. But then I started going, when I went to events, I went to VIP to get in those rooms, to get into those dinners and stuff like that. And then my approach to most of these individuals wasn't asking them for anything. It was like, this is the value I could bring to you. If you're having an event, I support you. I'm going to come and buy a VIP or buy a ticket so you know that I support you. So, and that's what I did with most of the people. They had a program or an event. I show up, I support them, I add value. And a lot of the relationships just became genuine, friendships.
All right. You've seen the power of social media. You've been doing it already for some time. How long you've been active in social media now?
Since, to be honest, about 2018 is when I started taking it serious. I'm like, okay, let me start to build this.
And what's serious for you? What is that?
You said what?
What is taking it seriously?
Posting trying to post every day, watch what I put out there, try to add value, and being on all the platforms, being on Instagram, being on YouTube. I seen people grow. I seen the Maxwell's and them start, and everything came from social media marketing. So once I said, this is something that I know because to me, social media is your new credit profile. Like the first thing people do is, when I hire, like I'm about 100 pages into my book, and my book coach on our first conversation, she said, I Googled you. She said, and I seen articles and Entrepreneur and everything about you. That's your credit report. Like people are going to go Google, okay, who is Seamus Goss? What does he do? before they even spend any money with you or look into you. I even had a homeowner was like, yeah, I Googled you to see, and I already knew so I said, what did you find? He was like, man, I just found good articles, you're nonprofit. I couldn't find nothing bad. I'm like, yeah, you're not going to find nothing bad because I do good business. But yeah, so it's definitely, I think social media is your new credit profile.
I think it's your credit report, some sort of background check, some sort of also resume, because you know how you gotta apply in the corporate world through a resume and maybe put some videos up and things like that, just so people can judge quickly whether you can go to an interview. I think social media is a good resume, and if you don't keep it updated, then it's gonna look like you haven't worked in a while.
Yep.
And I think that's how I see it. But what have you been able to achieve through all this social media? Because I want to get to the point where now you have this amazing podcast that you have interviewing these people.
Mm-hmm. So I think I started focusing more on trying to post as much as I can, meaning if I was traveling, if I was going on a vacation, if I was at a rehab, I took my followers with me on that trip. Because most of the time what they want to see is the experience. Like it's like I said this the other day. I said we all know Steve Jobs, but what I would have liked to known or seen was the documentary when he was in his parents' garage. That's what I would have liked to see. Everybody sees, okay, all right, Seamus is successful, Esteban is successful, yeah, but you got to see when our lights was cut off. The journey, the process. And that's one thing that I learned to fall in love with is the process, because I know me, when I build something and I get it there, I'm going to even want to sell it because I'm going to see the next mountain, so I can't see myself being a wholesaler for 20 years. I'm building capital to get into commercial, to get into lending, to essentially maybe, purchase a sports team or something like that. So I enjoy the process, and I get there, you get to the top of the mountain and you're looking at the next mountain, like that one is a little bit higher. As entrepreneurs, you know how it goes. Like we're never satisfied. Never.
Do you think that social media has been a pivotal way for you to make money, not only in the flipping side, but like just making money at all? Like,
yes. Yeah, 100%. I mean, even before I pivoted to real estate after the uniforms, I was doing social media marketing and things like that. I would send somebody a DM, and the first thing they do is they'll look at my profile, they'll go Google me and come back and be like, hey, where do I send the money? Right. And like you said, it's the credit check. And you could post a picture with an individual, and now when somebody goes to your page, they was like, hey, he works with him. It's by association,
There you go. A lot of people have used social media to raise capital, to create partnerships and collaborations, even obviously to sell their products. What do you use social media right now for? What are your biggest goals for social media, apart from, like, let's say, obviously posting your content and things like that? Like, what do you think that your end goal is going to be in social media?
So we're in the process of now moving into the education space. So online, we have to. That's why the last 4 years I've been building my brand. So we're going to move into the education space. And I'm part of a couple of masterminds where guys are doing $40-50 million a year online through education.
Wow.
Right. So we're moving in that direction. So that's going to be the main thing right now. Like I said, it's just taking the followers on a journey. Okay, this guy's flipping houses, he's wholesaling, he's traveling. But within the next 12 months, we're going to be moving into the education space. And when it comes to education and mentorship, to me, I take it personal. When somebody pays me for a mentorship, I'm going to be on top of them to make sure that they're successful, because their results is going to determine how people look at when they see, he got mentorships out there. Look at his 10 students. These guys are doing $5 million a year. So I had to put myself in the correct position, meaning I'm doing a certain amount of deals. We currently have like 5 or 6 rehabs going on consistently now. So going into the educational space, people will be able to just look at social media like this guy just did 3 closings this week, so we know he does what he says he does, and it'll be easier for them to spend money to purchase a course or to come to an event. But it's definitely to build into and go into the education space, and just to build a great community with individuals that need value, that they need to learn.
And so going into education, I mean, some people are definitely like that type of mindset of, I learned something and I have to take what I just learned and put into someone else's brain, because that's the only way that life has given you so much knowledge. What, to keep it for yourself? Why don't you share it away, right? But there's people that also want to take social media to for their real estate focused business, and maybe they don't want to like start a course or a program or a coaching or like mastermind and things like that. Uh, but definitely use social media for that. Um, is there any tips that you have there just to use social media for real estate investing, real estate flipping, real estate wholesaling?
Yeah, I think you definitely want to be consistent. You don't have to post every day. If you can post every day, that's good. You definitely want to put samples of your work out there. Show people that you're at closing, show people that you're renovating properties, you're selling properties. You definitely have to show the followers that's watching you, like, this is the business that I'm in, because there's a lot of people out there that teach. They'll do one fix and flip, and then they got an educational course.
Yeah.
And then they're not in a position. If I ask you about LVL studs, you don't even know those questions. Like, you can't even answer those, but you're pushing a course out there and you're trying to teach somebody else. Hey, and I don't knock anybody, but for me, I had to get to a certain position, a certain amount of deals done before I felt like I'm in a position to now teach it forward and to teach the next generation under me. That's
There
just
you
my
go.
take.
You said you had to get to a number of deals done. Right now, you're flipping or wholesaling only.
We're doing a little bit of both. So right
Okay.
now we currently have 5 flips going on right now, and we actually got 2 more. So the wholesaling is going to slow down a little bit for me, because some of the projects we got are, we have 2 that's tear downs. So it's new construction from the ground up. So I'm still in the process of building my internal team inside the office. So it's going to slow down a little bit for me. My goal this year was just to wholesale about 30, 40 deals, and then to do about 10 rehabs, 2 or 3 of them being new construction from the ground up. So, and plus I have a lot of investors that live out of state, and they have deals in Georgia, but they just don't have the manpower to rehab it or do a hotel. So I'm helping investors do that as well.
Oh, that's great, man. Now, in real estate, you've been able to get to the point where I've hit the goal, I have this goal, and I'm passionate about teaching others how to also be successful, how to create a consistent income through real estate, how to get into the real estate game better. Um, what do you think it really got you? What are those superpowers that you currently have that got you going into the flipping business in real estate and wholesaling that is really changing your game? What are those things?
So I think the main thing was just being resilient. Like, no matter what happens, no matter how many times I get punched in the face, I'm gonna come back again. You know, when it comes to wholesaling and any business in general, the key to success is consistency. If you continue to do whatever it is, if you're trying to wholesale and you need to get on the phone with homeowners or whatever it is, or you need to knock on doors, if you consistently do that, you're gonna find deals. So I think most people uh they have the wrong idea in mind. They think that I go knock on 10 doors and I'm gonna get a deal. They knock on 10 doors, they don't get a deal. They're like, oh, this ain't for me. I had a wholesaler that was like, yeah, I sent out like 50 pieces of mail and I didn't get a deal. I'm kind of discouraged. I'm like, well, try to send out 10,000 more. I'm like, because that's just the numbers of what it is. You have to send out 10,000 texts to get 1,000 responses for 100 people to say possibly to get in front of 10 to get one deal. That's just the numbers of what it is. And it's worth it because let's just say that one deal was a 50K spread. Fine. You only got to do one of those a month. To be honest, you could do one of those a quarter and you're at, $200,000 a year, which in most cases, $100,000 a year is life changing for people. Right. So it's definitely being consistent. Yeah. My superpower is just, if I would have ever went into boxing, I would have been the guy that you would have knocked down the 7th time. And on the 8th time, you would have been like, you know what? I'm just going to let him win because he's going to keep standing up. That's just me. Like, I'm going to keep taking shots at it because I don't believe if you invest in something and you don't make money, you fail. You either win or you learn, right? And I'd rather make an investment and spend 50 grand or 100 grand and learn a skill set than to spend 100 grand and go to college and get a degree in something that I don't even want to do when I'm done in college.
Nice, man. That's awesome. I mean, now a lot of people they try to find many ways to market themselves, to really get customers in clients. And I feel you found a really particular asset that you've been building, which is your podcast. What did you decide to do the podcast just to start?
So when I decided to do the podcast, it was because I just love having conversations with people, right?
Okay.
And I know a lot of people. So it's funny because when I do an episode of my podcast, we barely talk about business. So if they're real estate, we talk a little bit about real estate, but I'm like, hey, tell me how you grew up. Tell me what your first job was, because there's a lot of people that are in the position of the starting point. And they don't even know where to go. They just see, okay, this guy is doing, 100 deals a year. They don't see like, hey, I had to go through all of this. So I try to take people back to the beginning of like where you grew up, single family, talk about your past and everything. But the podcast, it's just, when I get on the podcast, I just talk. And I love to have conversations with people, right? My wife says, oh, you're the Oprah of podcasts because, I have people get ready to cry on the podcast and stuff like that. But it was just a way for me to communicate, to talk. And I know that podcasting now is basically the new communication when it comes to individuals wanting to learn, so it was a perfect time to get into it.
Now, if we were to obviously tell everyone that is listening here, tactically, strategically, having a podcast will also help your business and has helped your business. What do you think you've been getting out of like having just a podcast?
Well, one, like you said, when people go to my page and they see the people I interview, they automatically say, hey, these guys are friends, right? And it's true. Mostly everybody on my podcast I've known for years, but I think that's the main thing is by association, because nobody's going to want to get on a podcast with somebody they don't like. If we do a podcast together, it's because I'm friends with you and I'm like, hey, this is a cool guy. So when they see us, it's by association. Now they're going to say, hey, Esteban and Seamus, they're good friends. They did the podcast and everything. So, a lot of my friends just happen to be in real estate,
Yeah. Okay. Now, I see that from your podcast, the way that you have it set up, you really, you said that you don't really want to talk about business, and you really want to understand what have been the pain points and that are relatable pain points, relatable stories of people. Why do you think that's important? Why not going straight to the point? Like, why not like teaching straight people and not letting them see exactly what happened before?
Because I think, when you look at successful people and you look at people that make, let's say they make $250,000 or $500,000 a year, right? You're considered basically in the 1%, right? So when individuals look at that, they look at the 1%, they look at us from the successful view, right? But the 99% of the world is nowhere near there. So I think it's more people that need to see the path and the journey than it is they need to see the end result of you being successful.
Yeah.
Right. So I like to just bring that out of people. So maybe something can resonate with you that I went through, like I was doing a podcast the other day and I was interviewing a friend of mine, and he started telling about his jobs as a kid. It was selling candy, cutting grass. Mine was the same thing. So I'm like, see, it's some type of relationship or relation along the way. So I think it's important because there's more of the 99% there than there is the 1%. That's
Yeah.
my logical way of
And
thinking
I
about it.
believe that the 90%, 99%, even though by statistics, can achieve to be 1%, because at some point the 1% were part of the 99%. Now,
100%.
it doesn't mean that everyone will be able to do it, because naturally, you're not going to be an entrepreneur, like real good entrepreneur, or not naturally everyone will be. It's only a portion. Sad enough it is like that. However, if we can give them the tools, if we can give them the inspiration, if we can give them the resources to think and believe that you can achieve that, and to take it and start doing what you need to do in order to achieve that, I think that we ultimately, even by 0.5% that we add to the population of now new wealth or new riches, new millionaires, we're changing the world.
Yep.
Like, we're
Yeah.
at least we're changing this country, right? Or whoever listens, by adding at least 0.5% to that 1%. And I believe that education, the new education that you are presenting, is the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. No, I agree. I agree. It's definitely, when it comes to new entrepreneurs, like I would tell them to reading, start off reading, because when we came out of foreclosure I'm 49 years old, from 17 to 44, I didn't pick up a book. I'm like, man, I'm a hustler. I know buy low, sell high. That's all I need to know. After I closed my company down, I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe it's something I don't know. And the first book I picked up was The 4 Hour Work Week. And it made so much sense. I sat there and like, you know what? The only things that I could take care of in a company, I can get it done in 4 hours. And then it went from one book to another book. So I would tell individuals to start reading books like Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Traction, Outwitting the Devil, because that was what changed my mindset and shifted everything for me.
Absolutely love it, man. I think that I want to really have a second episode for people that are impactful on everyone. Um, we will schedule a second episode, but I really want to understand, what is it that you want to educate people on once you started going into this education business?
So the first thing that I kind of want to focus on with the community is is getting them to shift their mindset and educate them on building wealth, mainly in real estate, right? Any really any business that you're going to get into, your goal is to make money. And I think as an individual, as an entrepreneur in your family, I just believe that every family has that one person that changes the trajectory for everybody to come after them. And, my goal is just to empower those people that will wind up changing everything for their family.
I
That's my
love that.
main goal. Educate them on real estate, educate them on buying assets and delaying gratification and things. Like right now, we're in a process. I'm trying to get as liquid heavy as possible. I'm selling cars, I'm selling things because I'm like, listen, I could buy that car again, but when these houses drop down to 40 cents on a dollar, it's not going to last that long. And this is going to be the biggest transfer of wealth, I believe, in the history of the United States, is what's coming right now. Like, people have been waiting. Everybody's, complaining, oh, those interest rates are going up. Their interest rates are going up for everybody, but there's people sitting there with a bag of money that has been waiting on this since 2008, and they're partying now because they're like, now it hit. So it's educating them on how to purchase assets, and just teaching that real estate. If you look at the majority of millionaires and billionaires in the world, a lot of their wealth comes from real estate. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, we need to own real estate.
I think that in order to break the broke to rich ratio, we have to be able to educate and have as many educators of new education and beat universities that have been for so long old school and traditional, left with the education from the 1990s that are not teaching this. So the more educators we have, the more wealth we create around the United States or the world. And people like you, man, is what will make the difference. So I think that educating by podcast, educating by social media is doing a lot. And I think that now going into the education business for you is really going to help a lot of people, because the more people you help, the more money you also make.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Love that, man. Hey, man, I really love having you in this podcast. If you know people that would love to listen to this, I think if you can help me share this with your circle, everyone that is listening here in this podcast, share it around with your circle, Facebook groups, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all the way in YouTube as well. Uh, if people really need to learn that there is opportunity out there, if you feel that uh, without being selfish but being selfless, you can help others as well, family, friends. Just share this share this away, and also follow my man on Instagram. Where can we find you, man?
Seamus Goss, ShamusGoss on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on TikTok is my real name all across the board. I appreciate
There
you
you
having me.
go. Somewhere else? Is there somewhere else? Instagram right now, or somewhere else?
Instagram. You could go to ShamusGoss.com, but if you type my name in on any platform, I'm gonna pop up there.
Let's make it happen. Thank you so much for being in this episode, man. And we're gonna say bye to everyone that is listening to this. All right. Thank you so
Appreciate it,
much.
brother. All right, take care, brother.